Welcome in another edition of OG Podcast. I'm ND Kalu, and sitting across from me is my brother from another mother, a guy who we actually weren't, and we'll talk about that. We never had a chance to be teammates in the regular season, but we ended up becoming neighbors, and for me, he's one of my best friends now, and the way he looks after my family, my kids, we're next door neighbors, but it's been a blessing to me in my post-career life. Robaire Smith, I call him Robeezy. What's going on,
Hey,
Ro?
what's up, Indy?
Man.
Hey, man, just let you know, man, I appreciate you, too, for always being there for my family, being a good, one of my best friends, always looking out for us, whether we around town, whether we ain't, my kids, whether they in school, whether I'm home or not. I appreciate you and your family always looking out for them.
Man, feelings mutual. I'll tell you something that's funny, and if y'all ever want to start something, don't do it in Sienna, because if there's a car that one of us don't know, we are texting or calling one another saying, hey, do you know this blue Honda in the front? Because if not, he about to get fired upon.
Yeah,
so.
man, I had to let some people in our neighborhood know, like, man, I know we've been there so long now. We know every car that come through, whether it's, our people, our age, their kids' age, some of them, even their kids.
Yep.
We've been there. So we know when a car or when someone don't belongs in it, which is a good thing.
It's great.
So
you feel safe. You feel safe.
For sure.
All right, let's get into it. Flint, Michigan. Raised Flint, Michigan, molded you. Yeah. You and your brother played in the NFL, All-American in high school before going to Michigan State. One thing I want to bring up, because I don't think people realize how odd it is when you look at the numbers. Less than 1% of the people trying to get into the NFL actually get into the NFL when you talk about from high school up there. And for your household to have two, right. Your older brother, Fernando Smith, played in the NFL. What was going on in that household for that to happen?
I mean, we had a lot of blessings from God, you know what I mean? Because, like you say, it's kind of really the odds is very low. It's not only one going, but two, and I like to tell people, don't forget, I got another brother that possibly could have played football, but he ended up playing basketball, had a quick stint in the NBA, but ended up going more overseas for the most part. But he made it to the NBA. Yeah. Along with two girls, cousins of mine that made it to the WNBA at the time. So I think our family just been kind of blessed with that. And, like I say, it was just a lot of blessings from God.
When did it hit you? Because when you're going through it, you're still young. How old were you when Fernando first got into the NFL?
When he first got in the NFL was my 9th grade year in high school.
So you're thinking, 92. Cool, my brother's in the NFL. But when does it hit you?
Or maybe I got a chance.
Yeah.
The thing with me, I always grew up. I played every sport. From soccer to football to basketball to anything I can go out in the neighborhood and play. I ended up playing with it at my school. But the thing I think that kind of led me more towards that is I always looked at my brother as a role model. So I think that started transforming me into really locking in and playing football, because I always really grew up thinking basketball. Where I'm from is a lot of good basketball players. I mean, we got good football players in the, that was coming up that I looked up to, the Carl Banks, the, Andre Rison, which I look at like a big brother, Big Mark Ingram, not little Mark Ingram that played in the NFL, but his dad. It was a couple guys out of there, but it was also Glenn Rice, Jeff Greer. It's a lot of old school players that came that was in the NBA at the time. So we was thinking NBA. But as I got older and started watching my brother mannerism, watching what he was doing, I started doing it. Then the one that finally hit me was, I think maybe like my 9th grade, 10th grade year, I went down to his football camp when he signed with the Minnesota Vikings. It was actually an off season like now, and they had me just kind of being sort of like a little helper. It was him, John Randall and Jerry Ball and all those guys. And, once I think that's the summer I kind of really grew love for football.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's big time right there, to be around that. And then when you're around them, are you thinking to yourself, you know what, in 8, 9, 10 years, I could be one of these guys.
I could do it. You know what I mean? Because I seen it. I seen it personally. I felt it. I experienced it. So that's something that I think a lot of kids, just in the world in general, not just from where I'm from, but from all over, once you can really feel it and see it and touch it and see it, that's a goal for you to shoot for. Like, my main reason was, after then, I remember coming back and I seen Andre Rison in a candy apple red Ferrari. I said, oh, man, I got to get me one of that. I don't know if I can fit in it, but I need one. You know what I mean? So that kind of, drove me. And a part of that was driving me too. But once, like you said, once I seen them guys doing it, and then I started working on some of the stuff they doing, even though I didn't know what I was doing, I'm like, I could do this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then the little stuff they showed me over that summer, I took it back into my 10th grade season in high school, and it just worked. So I'm like, okay, I got a chance.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. It's kind of corny. Like, when I was young, I was a football nerd. Like, I played all the other sports, but I loved football. I literally would cut pictures of every player, even if I didn't know who it was, out of Sports Illustrated and put it on my wall. But I knew very well who your brother was because I also played defensive end.
Okay.
So, I knew exactly who he was, John Randall. And then when I met you, I put it together. I was like, oh, that's his younger brother. And it was just kind of cool.
Right
but
there.
yeah, like I didn't just know who he was. Like I would watch him and try to mimic his movements because that's just what I did. So you get back and you're using those movements your 10th grade year and you're starting to see that it works. When is it time to start thinking about, okay, what university do I want to choose?
You know what? I was still straddling the fence because I always been, I like to say, pretty decent at basketball. Some might argue I was, some might argue I was better than what I thought. You know what I mean? But I didn't really make the decision to start playing football to really my senior year in high school. Like I say, I always straddled the fence. Okay. You know what I mean? Even to the point where I told Coach Saban, okay, if I come to Michigan State, can I still play basketball? And of course, he's going to tell you, he's going to tell you whatever you want to hear until you get there. And it was good that I was seeing Coach Izzo coming to my school for my brother, Antonio, which is a year older than me, and my best friend, Mateen. So it's like, okay, yeah, you can play. But I didn't never take it as I really could because they was like, yeah, all right, yeah, you can play if you want to. Yeah. But it was like, you're not, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. So it was cool. So my senior year, I think that's when I decided, like, okay, football is my thing.
All right, so you played basketball at a high level. You had a brother go to the NBA, a brother go to the NFL. In your opinion, what's tougher?
I would say you got to really, both of them is tough. Don't get me wrong, because basketball, you got to be a gym rat.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? You got to be in there every day. You got to put up the 500,000 shots, dribble, do this, do that just consistently. But football is a game that you got to truly love because it's so much demand on your body, physically, mentally, emotionally. You're away from your family longer, I think, at times because you ain't here whether you practicing, whether you watching film, whether you getting treatment, whether you lifting weights. Like you got to do all those things like repeatedly, like 2 and 3 times a week. Yeah. That's on the lower end. So I think it's much more demanding to be a football player, and I think, like I say, it's just a lot more work goes into it. If you ask me,
I feel like football is more of a grind, where basketball is more of a skill set. But
sure.
I mean, like you said, it's tougher, but they're both very tough. When I was at Rice, and this is small Division I school, we would play pickup basketball with the basketball players. That's when it hit me. I thought I was a good basketball player coming out of high school, but when I played pickup with them, I'm like, I'm not good at all because they would make shots. If they were uncontested, they would make shots like just layups.
Easy. Yeah. That's why I when people, they got to be mindful when they be watching these basketball and football games. They be, this basketball player, he's sorry, he the 13th or the 12th person off the bench. But that 12th person on a regular person would give you 50 to 60 points real easy. It takes, like I say, it takes a lot. But those guys are really good. I think that's about what you said was probably my come to Jesus moment also in college. It was in the summertime, and I think it was our freshman year, maybe my sophomore, and it was a couple of us on a football team. We used to always go and watch the basketball team practice in the summer because we all was cool.
Right.
Man, and then one day we gets out there, we trying to scrimmage these dudes. Yeah. We talking crazy. So they like, come on. It went real quick from a full court game to a half court game to, man, people just laying on top of each other to, okay, we got to turn this into football now.
Yeah. Hard fouls, no blood, no
exactly.
foul.
So I think, like you said, those guys is a different thing, and they be very good, very talented, and they does stuff with ease. But, go back to what we saying, that's all the time they put in the gym on them shots, them, dribbling, shooting 1,000 times a day, 300 from this spot, 300. I mean, it's almost like they ain't got to look at the rim and shoot it and make it.
Like literally 1,000 shots a day.
Yep. And it was crazy, like, that you say that, because I was just down in Phoenix, and I was watching those guys warm up before the game. Like,
Suns?
Yeah, the Phoenix Suns, because a good friend of mine that went to school with us named Matt Ishmael just bought the Suns. So we was going down there just watching them. And
hold on. Is that a humble brag?
No, man, that's just a homeboy.
My homeboys are buying new shoes. Your homeboys are buying NBA basketball teams. But go ahead, my bad.
I gotta tell you why I'm just an automatic Suns fan at all times. So if anybody, you ain't even gotta ask me. My favorite team is the Suns. You know what I mean? You know, that's how we roll. Hey, but I was watching those guys. They come out there maybe like an hour and a half, 2 hours before the game, and they work out.
Before the game?
Before the game. Like everything that you see during the game, they done worked out and did that maybe an hour and a half to like hour and 15 minutes before the game.
Okay.
Like they come out there one at a time and they all be with a trainer and they actually go through every shot they do. And some of the stuff they was doing was, I'm like, okay, why are you doing that? But then you see it happening in the game, like, oh, okay, I see it now. Like it was points when they was shooting 3-pointers, they ain't bending no elbows. All they doing is catching ball, flicking the wrist.
Okay.
And I'm like, damn, how did he do that? Why is he doing that at warm-up? Then I see him doing it in the game. I'm like, man, it make you respect basketball totally different. The grind is different.
Speaking of respecting, I have two basketball questions before we start talking Texans. Speaking of respecting basketball a little more, did you have a chance to watch any of the women's tournament?
Oh, man, I watched it all. You know me.
I kept hearing about Caitlin Clark. But after seeing it, I was like, okay, she's the truth.
Oh man, I don't know why they hating on Caitlin Clark so much. That girl, she's good. If you look at her, I'm not saying that she's Steph Curry, but it's the same comparison when you're doing like, would she ever be able to do this? Even when Taurasi, I think went on her podcast or something and said she gonna have a humble experience when she comes to the WNBA because she's not playing with 18-year-olds, she playing with grown women.
Okay.
Well, you can look at that either way because everybody had that humble experience, but do I think she can get over the hump? Yeah, I think she's a once in a generation type player as a right now. Now, will she be able to have the volume to shoot it as she did in college and the lead way? We'll wait and see. I don't see why she wouldn't, but she's good. And there's a lot of girls in there that I feel like was good. I'm just a basketball head. Like football, I love basketball.
No, I've known that. Yeah. You've always been bad. Matter of fact, we had a chance to coach basketball together. You know a lot about basketball. When I heard about her, and I kept hearing her name. This is going back to last year. And I knew she was good, but this year, I said, okay, let me put my phone away and just watch. And I don't know if I just picked the right game, but by the end of the game, my eyes were wide, my hands were in my palms. Like this girl's amazing.
That was every game. That's her style of play. I think them. When did you watch her more in the finals? In the playoffs?
The final two games.
Yeah, like I think them was some of her toughest game. Like like that she did all year, but she stepped up to the moment. She showed out in the moment against the good players. Yeah. Because you look at the girl Reese and some of the guys that was some of the girls, I said guys like I'm watching the boys. But yeah, some of the girls that were checking her, the South Carolina, they've been very good lately, and Don Staley, they know their thing, and Markey from LSU, and she made it. It was tough, second quarter. Next thing you know, she get the roll, and she made it start looking a little easy. Yeah. Like, man, but this is the best that she can go against, and I don't think too much has changed. It might even help that she's going to the WNBA, just like some college basketball players fit more of an NBA style than college. That's why I think Bronny got to test that water. I don't mean to jump shift, but he got to test that water because I think he would be a better pro than he is a college player.
How cool would that be? You have two boys, my nephews, who are studs, like they're freaks. But can you imagine being able to actually play with them?
Oh,
Not
man.
just coach them up, to actually play with them.
I think I would love it. I don't know if they will. They'll be like, man, I want to play with my daddy. He watching my every move, and I can't talk like I want to talk. But I think that's, that'll be something that's like be terrific. I think it'll be a dream of any athlete to play with they child on, I don't care what sport or what level, but I just think that's something that'll be very fun to do. How long, like I say, how long will it last? I don't know.
It's more likely to happen in baseball and basketball than obviously football.
Yeah, for sure.
Frank Gore almost did it.
He did it. I really think he could have if he really wanted to.
If he wanted to and said, you know what, I'll be a third down back, or, you're right. I actually didn't think about that.
Yeah, I think he really could.
He probably could. Knowing that, shoot, I would have busted some nuts early in my age. At 15, 16, knowing that could have been a possibility.
It could have been a possibility because you got to think about it. We was playing football it was some kids that's some guys that we was playing with, their kids was running around the field.
Oh yeah.
I like to, not to do Bruce, but Bruce Matthews. I remember Jake and all those guys was babies when we played at Tennessee. And I look at them now, I be telling them every time I see them up the plex working out, like, man, I remember you was still in diapers running around that little, around the facility at Bruce. And look at y'all, man, like you finna retire. You a stud. You an all-pro and all this. Like, man, this is crazy. I mean, it makes me feel old at the same time, but it's cool to see. And I wish that could have been me,
right?
And that's something I discussed with my wife. Like, I wish, I would have had my sons earlier so they can be at practice with me, come out there and work out with me. And like you said, hopefully we could have did something together,
Yeah, well, we could still move around.
Yeah, maybe I could have had one good friend as a coach and be like, man, let me just play. I don't even need to bring my helmet out the locker room. Just let me play with my son for 1 week.
Exactly. That would have been fun. Speaking with Robaire Smith, OG Podcast. All right, let's switch gears and talk about the excitement going on here in Houston with DeMeco Ryans. Obviously, the McNairs have done an awesome job kind of turning everything around. Just 2 years ago, people outside of Houston were laughing at the Texans, and now people are talking contenders. Is it too early to talk contenders right now?
I mean, if you want to be humble, but at the same time, you gotta have that confidence. Like, it's true. That's how you want to come into a off season. You want that mindset, like it's time to shine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I felt like they set the standard last year. If you're looking at it from a team aspect, they set the standard of where they want to be or what they want to do, and I think they got better this offseason, at a couple different positions. So I think it's a reasonable goal to have for sure. Like, I hope that's how one would think, like, it's time for us to go out there and contend and compete and win this thing, because that's, at the end of the day, that's the goal.
You want the players to think it. I guess people get a little weary when they say it. I'm okay if a player's confident as long as you back it up.
For sure. You know what I mean? I don't want to play with nobody that's doubting themselves. You know what I mean? Like, we finna lose. No, we ain't finna lose. I don't want to play with him.
Right.
Yeah, so no, like, they should have that. That should motivate them to push through this summer. Hopefully everybody had the best offseason they can and come in rocking and rolling, you know what I mean? And win some of the games. Like I always say in football, you gotta have the games you win, and some you gotta win by luck. Right. So if you want to know which football team that I feel like is gonna make it every year, they had them 1 or 2 lucky games that they shouldn't have won, but they did.
I had this argument with a buddy of mine. He played also, and he thought I was just trying to say all the right things. So I want to get your take on this. I never went into a game from high school throughout the NFL before the game thinking we were going to lose. And he swore up and down like, man, you had to know. So I want to get your take. Was there did you ever go into the game thinking, man, we're not
No. I can't think that. I don't know if that's just the way I've been wired since I've been a kid or whatnot. Like, some people like to be like, you're a sore loser. I think I'm a sore winner. You know what I mean? So at the same time, because I hate to lose more than I like to win. So I don't never think like, no, I'm finna lose or we don't got a chance. That right there, that grinds me. Like, that get under my skin with somebody even to think that they got the possibility of losing before it's even played.
You know what? This is going to bother you, especially when you talk to your boys. I think this generation, they're a little more realistic. I'm trying to keep it positive.
Yeah.
Because I remember, not to make this about me, but I remember when I was in college, we were about to play Ohio State. And for those who don't know, I went to Rice, and at the time was the smallest D1 school in the nation. It was our first game of the season. So that whole summer, we're breaking our workouts, beat Ohio State. Man, we were so crunk. We were like, man, we about to shock the world.
Right.
They beat us 70-7.
But did y'all make them play though?
No, we did. I mean, look, I gave Orlando Pace all he could handle that game. But then on the way back, we were like, oh, okay, that's the difference. But even then, we played LSU 2 weeks later. Like, I would have bet my life we were going to win that game.
Right.
So I'm kind of with you, but I think now, if you ask some of these kids, because we get a chance to talk to a lot of kids, and I'll pull them aside like, hey, what you thinking about this game? Oh, man, our quarterback trash. We're not going to win. And I'm like,
how do
you
you
going
think
into
that?
the game, but, thinking that?
Yeah.
I think they're a little more aware. I don't know if that's good or bad, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I think you being nice and aware. You know what I mean? Because it's just hard for me to think like we're not going to win. Like,
I'm with you.
Yeah, like, if you're going to beat me, you're going to have to beat me.
Yeah.
I don't care what it is. I don't care if we can see who could throw a rock the farthest or closest to a wall. You're going to have to beat me. I don't know if I can even throw a rock close to the wall, but you're going to have to show me that you can beat me. I'm not going to just say, oh, yeah, he's better than me, or no, we don't stand a chance, or no, my teammate ain't good enough. You know what I mean? Because if I would have heard a guy say that, our quarterback, sorry, we're not going to beat him, well, what the other 10 people going to be doing?
Come on.
Because we got a chance, and the other 10, they just got to beat their people there. You know what I mean? So it's always a way around to always thinking, negative, start thinking some more of the positive thing. And I think that's why a lot of people put a lot of doubt, which brings anxiety to them because they doubt in themselves so much instead of believing in themselves. You know what I mean? So
that's strong right there.
Yeah, man, it got to happen, man.
That's laid down on the couch strong right there.
Hey, man, that's going back to my Michigan State psychology class days.
See that. I'm like, look, can we turn the mic off? I got some things I've been going through that I want to tell you about. All right, one quarterback that is not trash, emphasis on not, CJ Stroud. Just because you watch the game differently than a fan, because you and I have the conversations. What did you see out of CJ Stroud his rookie year?
I seen like a poised quarterback, for one. He's very poised. And what I like about CJ is, I don't know if too many people will recognize it, you know what I mean? But I know you do. I know the guys that played, is he never put his receivers in harm's way. And you go back and you look at some of the Tom Brady's, the Peyton Manning, the different ones, they never put their receiver to where he going to get smashed. He's taking a receiver where he want to go when he throw the ball. And I think they did a great job. It helped some of the youngest players like Tank Dell and some of those guys and all, not just them because he's young, you know what I mean? So, but you could tell he's been working with someone that's been potent him in this game for a minute, the way he throws the ball. And I think that's a huge thing for a quarterback because for one, the receivers got to trust you.
Right.
For two, you got to, I say the receiver got to trust him, he got to trust the receivers. I'm going to put this ball where I want you to go. You just got to turn around and find it. Yeah, I know the play make you go 10 and out, but I might throw 10 out and I might throw it behind you because I see him sitting on top of you. So now I'm going to throw it behind you, and you're going to turn it all the way around and get that ball. You know what I mean? So it got to be a trust on both angles. And I see like, man, if I didn't just know his age, I would think he was a super vet in this league.
Right.
Yeah.
When you mention that, because that's very perceptive, do you think he's thinking like, okay, if I throw this ball, he's going to get laid out? Or is it more because of the timing, he's getting it out in time?
I think it's more him reading the defense and reading the people. I mean, I think he does a great job of recognition of the defense and what there really is and knowing exactly where he can go accordingly, whether it's his zone, whether it's man. And, I think that got a lot to do with the placement also. So if they got two safety highs and he goes somebody coming across the middle with a linebacker sitting in that middle, of course I'm not going to lead you. I'm going to throw it behind you.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? The linebacker might come and hit you, but it ain't going to be as hard as you running into him. And I think he does a great job of recognizing what's going on and putting it like that.
There's always this debate. Now you have Nico Collins, who's coming off a career year. You're getting a healthy Tank Dell back. You signed Diggs. Yeah. When they talk about number one receiver, is that just media talk, or do you feel like the offensive coordinator has to say we have to target this one guy more? Man,
no, I don't. I would hope they don't do that, especially with a with a young quarterback or either, because all three guys you just named is exceptional guys. You know what I mean? And I think, the big thing is going to be okay, we're going to put that personal stuff to the side, and we're going to win. You know what I mean? It ain't about who's the number one, who's this and that, because you're talking about three studs.
Right.
You know what I mean? That can go on any team and possibly be a number one receiver. So, I don't think that's going to play in the player and really affect too much like, I'm the number one receiver, throw it to me more. No, it's a protocol when you're running the offense. And as long as they stick to it, I think everybody will get theirs.
That's easier said than done. So I'm going to try to make it to where you and I could relate. But it's almost like we're winning. Let's say we're winning. You're a hell of a pass rusher, but they're taking you out on third and long. Are you going to be able to do what you just said?
It's going to sting. Yeah. It does happen. You know what I mean? It happened to me, you know what I mean? During the later part of my career, like, you coming out on third down first. I'm like, third down, that's when we get to rush the passers. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I brought into what they wanted me to do, and I started, okay, since I'm coming out on third, I could put more emphasis on this first and second down. And we started playing better. You know what I mean? Even though, do I think our team was overachievers at the time, the team that I was playing for? Yes, but, everybody bought in. So, in football, all 11 guys got to buy in. And like you say, it's easier said because we all got egos. You know what I mean? We all want to be the best. We used to being the best. But I think as long as you get them guys touches, they all great enough athletes, especially those 3 receivers, they can make whatever happen they want to. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't be surprised if you seeing some Tank Dell coming around for some quick handoff, some Stephon Diggs getting some quick screens. You know what I mean? However you got to feed them guys, you know, hopefully they just do that and they all buy into it. You know, it might be some games where he got 10 catches, you got 2.
Right.
It's fine. You know what I mean? Next game you might have 10, he might have 2. You know, and it's just something that I think like with maturity, it comes with maturity also. You know, once they continue to grow, continue to feel each other, and hopefully have a nice, good bond to where everybody want to see everybody do good. And that's when it comes out.
All right, let's flip on the other side. So CJ Stroud, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, also a Houston Texan. Will Anderson, just thoughts on his play. Yeah.
Bad man. You know, I love me some defensive players, you know what I mean? And with Will, I've been watching him since college, you know what I mean? And he's been that guy. He's been a dog, you know what I mean? And I think some people in the NFL might have been shocked, but I seen it last year. Yeah. And all I kept thinking, not even last year, the year before, I'm like, man, he going to fit good in the NFL. Because all he going to have to do, they going to widen him out a little more, and all he going to do is go. You know what I mean? From looking at some of those guys that done did it in the past with some, you know, we can go back as far as we want with the Javon Curse, the Freeneys, and, you know what I mean? Even here, Mario Edwards, like all of them, you know what I mean? This guy he was equipped to do this. You know what I mean? So, and boy, did he calls Ruckus his rookie year like that. I mean, I think he's one of the more people I'm looking forward to really watching and see the transition from year 1 to year 2, because I think he got the possibility he can change the way the game is going. You know what I mean? As far as if they down, he can make them come back and win, because he'll get that sack, cause fumble. And he just, you know, he athletic and quick enough. He might scoop it and score. Yeah. You know, and that's what I really want to see, because I'm a defensive guy.
Well, speaking of athletic enough, I know a lot of things about you. I didn't realize you had 3 interceptions in college.
Oh, yeah.
How the hell does that happen?
I don't know. I think, to tell you the truth, I got to probably shout out my good friend Julia Peterson that I played with, my roommate. I think one of them was a tap he should have gotten. I think I kind of bumped him out the way and got it, you know. But, hey, I don't know how I did it. It was some, you know, Saban used to draw up different little plays where we drop in, drop out, you know, being aware of tipping the ball and going up and getting it. And, you know, I think the most thing that I felt like that really helped my NFL career that I learned probably while I was at Michigan State was turning around, running to the ball as a defensive lineman. Because there's a lot of stuff happen if you turn around and do that, whether it's, like you're saying, the ball popped up in the air off a receiver hands, or, you know, somebody knocked the ball out, you scoop up a fumble, you got something to do with it. Most defensive linemen ain't gonna score. So I think I got caught maybe 2 out of the 3 times. But I was there, you know what I mean? But I think that was just being in the habit of turning around, running to that ball and hustling, you know, and I think that's a missing craft in some of the players. I think that's what makes some of the goods good and some of the greats great. They turn around, they run, they doing the extra stuff. They don't have to do it, but they do it, and that's what happens.
I forget what coach said it. It might have even been Jethro Franklin, who used to coach here. But he said something very simple, but always stuck with me, and I tell my sons who play D-line, you know, when a big man is running fast downfield, big things happen when he hits the ball carrier.
Oh, for sure.
And there's a lot to that.
For sure. Hey, and my guy Jonah Stud too, just to let y'all know, he just gonna fly by there. And my guy DK, man, up at Baylor, you know what I mean? He just gonna fly. My son played D-line. No, them some studs right there.
We trying to get him there. We trying to get him there.
Yeah, but that's something you know, those guys do. I know they probably hate when they do see me at practice, because the first thing I don't care what happened, turn around and run to the ball. You know, that's the time for you to make up on something. That's the time to do something extraordinary out there that separates you from everybody. Because, you know, it's kind of come a point in time to where you got to start seeing what separates you from every defensive line. Because every defensive lineman in the NFL is good, but what separates you? It got to be something small. And I think that's one of the small things that do it.
I'll say this. You have to it's easy to say you have to go 100% whistle to whistle every single play, and I believe you should. But especially in high school, you better have a good coach. And what I mean by that, if you have a D lineman and you see that he ran 50 yards to make a hustle play, and if you leave him in that next play, you know, I'm not saying he ain't gonna go hard, but you got to know how to rotate guys if that's what you expect.
At the most, you might give him one more. Depends on how he looking. You know what I mean? But like you said, you got to be a good enough coach. Like, okay, I see him hustling. He ain't tapping his helmet, but come out,
For
get
2
you some
plays.
water.
Yeah, get some water.
Let
and
me
get
make
back
sure.
in.
Yeah, are you cool? You cool? You all right? Good hustle. Get back out there. You know what I mean? But like you said, you got to be a good coach and recognize some of that stuff.
And not just recognize it, but you have to be a good coach and develop the backups
For sure.
where when you put them in, you know, it's not a big issue. Because it's easy when you have a stud out there. You know, it's easy. All right, so back to the Texan defensive side of the ball. And this is where I give props to the ownership. Jonathan Grenard had a great career year. He moves on. It would be easy for the Texans decision makers to say, Will Anderson, he's going to hold it down.
Right.
What do? They go bring in Daniel Hunter, who's been one of the most
Another
productive edge rushers over the last 5-6 years. So just talk about that move and how it's going to help Will Anderson.
Well, I think it's going to help. You know, they had a couple guys on the defensive line that was good veterans, you know, Malik and all those guys. I like them too, but to know that a guy at the same position, like you said, Gerard, he was good too, but Hunt been a dog for a minute. You know what I mean? I love his style also. So it's some of the little things that he can teach Will that probably get him, I don't care if it's 2 or 3 more sacks a year, but to be able to do that, that's huge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And to know a guy on that other side of you just is going to be going just as hard doing some of the things you're going to do is going to take a load off of Will. You know what I mean? And it's going to make him better. He's seeing that every day. He working with that every day. He mimicking that, you know, on top of what he got. And I think that's going to be huge.
I'll tell you one thing, and I'm sure I can't wait to hear your stories, because you know when you get to the NFL, you have to go hard. Just like you said, there's certain things that separate, but getting a chance to play with the older defensive ends. Like I had a chance to play with Bruce Smith, Marco Coleman, the nuggets that they teach you. It's not about going hard. It's about how to watch film. It's about how to take care of your body after practice. Those are the little things I can't wait for Hunter to show Will Anderson.
Yeah, because I think that's huge. And like you, I didn't really learn that till, I learned pieces of it when I first got to Tennessee because, you know, they was a little older. Like I say, Javon and Jakerson was there, but they were some of the youngest ones besides me. We had older guys. So I used to be like, they in the cold tub or they sitting in the steam room. I ain't got time for that. I can go out there and play without stretching. You know what I mean? And maybe like around year 7, I'm like, you know, this why they was doing that. This what it is. You know what I mean? I had to leave out the meeting room 15 minutes early just to get in a hot tub before I go out there on the field to be halfway loose. But like you say, those are the type of things that would help also a younger player be more productive because it don't seem like it. Like you say, I like to look at somebody like LeBron James. I know I always mix sports like that, but that's just how I am. But he spent $1 million a year on his body. You know what I mean? So everybody wonder like, how is he 40 running up and down the court and jumping and doing? Well, he made sure he put in the work all season taking care of his body. Right. You know what I mean? Some of the days that, you know, when people don't even come in and practice or do nothing, he was going in, he's getting treatment. He doing little stuff to build himself back up so he can be able to perform at his highest. And I think some of the older guys in the NFL does a great job at doing that. And, you know, hopefully they can show some of them young guys that, because I think that's the key. You know what I mean? Because after about year 5 or 6, like I said, it ain't no more just walking out there and playing. Right. You got to be loose maybe an hour before. You got to come in, get those massages, get that stretch, get that little stuff done before you even make it out there.
It's funny you say that because that's exactly how it was. Early on, you're like, man, I could go straight from the club to the field. But then after a while, when that body starts, you know, taking those beatings, it's like, oh, I have to get a massage now. I have to get in the steam room. Yeah. I'll tell you what one of the olders taught me. After a night of drinking on Friday, you get in that steam room for about 30 minutes. You feel good as new.
Yeah, it all come up out of you.
Everything.
Everything come on up out of you.
Come out of you.
Hey, you will go in that steam room on Saturday morning or Friday morning, man. You see that thing so packed, look like people about to pass out in there, but they got to get it out their body.
You smell everything. You smell the mad dog, the crowd.
Hey, but that's how you had to learn, and I, you know what I mean. It's funny, you know, now. But at the time, it was like, no, this is a way of life. We got to do it. You know what I mean? So you kind of know what you're getting yourself into the night before. Like, okay, I'm going out, but I got to get up in the morning and hit this dang on sauna. Absolutely. Get this up out my body. You know what I mean?
All right, let's talk. I'm going to give you a second because this is a curveball. You know, we've talked about Will Anderson, CJ Stroud. There's about 4 or 5 guys when people talk Texans, they talk. Is there one guy on the roster who we may not talk about on a daily basis that you're like, you know what, keep an eye on this one?
As far as new guys,
just anybody in general.
I like to me Like I know it's a lot of good people that done came here. I'm just going with some of the new guys. I done talked about some of the guys that was here last year before. But I'm kind of excited to see Mixon.
I like that one.
Yeah, I like that hookup. You know what I mean? He's been a good player. He can run. He can catch. So it's a lot of different things you can do with him. And also, what is it, Schultz?
Yeah.
The tight end?
Schultz.
Yeah, like, man, those are two guys that I'm kind of excited to see how they get involved with outside of the other guys, the receivers, the Diggs, Tank Dell, the Nico Collins, and I want to see what they do. You know what I mean? And on defense, I'm sorry, man. I already told you. I get caught up watching the D-line the whole game when they on defense. So all I can really tell you about is some of those guys, and I'm excited to see them two edge bash like that.
How has the game changed from when we played to what you're seeing now, if at all? Like, is there a noticeable difference when you're watching?
Yeah, to me, not to say that the game is not physical because it's still physical, but it ain't a smash mouth as it used to be.
Yeah.
I think you got to be more athletic. You got to be able to react a little quicker. You got to be a little bit more fluid in your running, your hips, and all that type of stuff. We would smash mouth. We're coming right down at you. These guys, you got to get off the ball. You got to be able to shuffle, then turn and run and catch somebody before they get to the sideline, or read the quarterback is he gonna hand the ball off to the running back, or he gonna keep it and run it or throw it? Mm-hmm. Like it's more athleticism with it and more mental than it was back then. And I think that's the difference. It probably started changing to me maybe about 2000. I would say 7 or 8. I mean, no. It was about like 2010.
Okay.
10 or 11 when I started noticing that. You know what I mean? And I think that's what most players got to adapt to right now, because I always tell people, if I'm a college basketball player and I'm not in one of them top guys, I'm finna play football. Because who don't want a 6'7" or 6'8" tight end or defensive end that's athletic, because that's what the game is now.
That's actually a good point. And I like the way you said it, because a lot of times when us former players talk, it's almost like we're knocking. But you basically did a good job breaking down the differences. Like now they're a little bit more athletic and not as smash mouth. Because I remember, for my training camp early on, it was like, can you just survive it?
Yeah,
like, can you survive?
For sure.
And now, and I'll admit, like when I watched the Bosa brothers, Myles Garrett, I'm like, as much as an athlete I thought I was, those guys are better athletes. But we were like, I remember Eric Williams coming on a pool, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, he outweighs me by 100, but he about to fill me. We had that mentality
for sure.
Where I think now Myles Garrett would have slipped it and made a tackle for a loss.
See, like you said, slipping with that back in our time, you had to long arm that. Mm-hmm. And like you say, a guy like Eric Williams, somebody coming, you like, man, I'm 240, 250. Yeah. And this big trade coming, I ain't got no choice. He got to feel me.
Exactly. You shrug and be like, all right.
Yeah, until you in the training room the next day with ice all on your shoulder, neck, everything. Yeah.
Saying the physics didn't match up in my favor, but we just had that mentality.
Hey, man, I think that went for us all, man. But like you said, though, it's so much different now to where those guys, and it's kind of it's kind of cool the way they kind of play a lot of the stuff. Like you say, like that same guy coming out, you might see Myles Garrett fake down and then swim around him and still make the play. Like, God. But see, that goes the part where I say you got to have that little, not to say they is more athletic than we were, but the game is, you know what I mean, where he's jumping down and jumping up and going back down and stopping the guy that's running a 4-3, 4-2 coming down, and still make the tackle. Like, that stuff is amazing to me. I like to see it. It's a lot of stuff that I do like that make a little sense now the way it's played, and that's one of them I always love. I don't know how they do it. I don't think I could have did it, but, it's cool to see.
At the time when you played, you would know you can do it. But now, like I always said, when you play, you have to be a little detached from reality.
For sure.
But now when you kind of look at it, it's like, okay, that just doesn't make sense physically or geometry or whatever. All right, one of your partners owns an NBA team. If you were gifted $8 billion and you could buy one team in any of the leagues, what league are you purchasing a team in?
Who, me?
Yeah,
as far as
NFL, me? NBA, MLB, NHL.
See, it's kind of tricky for me because I love basketball.
Yeah,
that was always been my first love. You know what I mean? I like football. Don't get me wrong. Man, I know a lot of people might not like me after this, but I got to go purchase my Boston Celtics.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's been my team since I was young. being up in Detroit, everybody used to hate me for it.
I was going to say,
the bad boys.
The home of the bad boys, Bill Laimbeer, the Microwave Johnson, Isaiah Thomas. How do you end up a Boston Celtics fan?
I got love for them. It's just they just wasn't my team. You know what I mean?
Is it Larry Bird, McHale? Is that who you gravitated towards, or those players?
It was actually. It was just the way the game was played and the stuff they was doing. Not to say nobody else wasn't doing it, but those
they were
ones
cold.
They was cold. You know what I mean? Even with Robert Parrish and some of the different things. But they was just my team. I don't know if I was just being a hater or what.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but that's been Boston my team, and the New York Giants was my football team because Carl Banks played there, Mark Ingram, those guys from where I'm
your
from.
Hometown, yeah.
So they playing for them. I love them.
But Boston, that caught me off guard. I never would have guessed that.
Man, that's a bad thing, man. I took so much pressure from that when I was growing up. You know what I mean? But hey, that's my squad. That's my squad.
Were you walking around Flint, Michigan with a Larry Bird jersey?
No, man, no.
With a Kevin McHale
I wouldn't do all that. Oh, Lord, nah. Because I still had love for the bad boys. Don't get me wrong, but no, I wouldn't. I don't even think we had the money to do it, for one.
Hold on. So you're in Flint, Michigan. Boston is playing Detroit in the playoffs. Who are you rooting for?
Boston.
Really?
Yeah. To this day. Boston is still my team.
In order, top 3 Celtics.
Top 3?
Yeah.
Larry Bird. I like Kevin McHale.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, talking about overall, anytime?
Yeah, anytime.
I got to go with my boy. Well, I need about 4 or 5. I got to go with my boy KG. I was a KG big ticket fan growing up also. But also, I love Ray Allen. Mm-hmm. I love Robert Parrish. You know what I mean? I love Dennis Johnson. Some of those guys that was always my favorite.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So I know what to get you one day. If I ever lose a bet to you, I'll get you a Boston. Do you have any Boston Celtic memorabilia?
Yeah, of course.
In the crib?
Yeah, of course. They're my guys.
A frame jersey? What?
No, I ain't get no frame jersey. Just little pieces I get. I always had, since I was growing up, different little stuff. I used to collect cars and stuff too.
Okay.
So I always kept little Boston stuff that I did get.
That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think fandom should be, what's the word I'm looking for? Designated to the region you're from. You know what I'm saying? Like me growing up in San Antonio, even though I was a Spurs fan, because that was the only professional team we had. But it shouldn't just be, okay, you have to be a Spurs fan.
No, it shouldn't. Because even while they was going through that, I still cheer for players more than I do for teams.
Gotcha.
Like, if one of my favorite players, like I said, Ray Allen was there and he left and went to Miami, hey, I got to watch Miami.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite players. That's who I'm kind of going for. As long as they ain't playing my Celtics,
Big basketball fan. I had to catch myself. I was going to say LeBron's on his way out, but like you said, he might have another 5-6 years in him.
Easy. I mean, if you're looking at how he producing out there,
yeah,
it's just a matter if he want to play or not, I think.
And he could probably play. Here's what I don't understand, but I think this is part of what separates the greats from a guy like myself. I would play as long as I possibly could, even if I had to change my role. Where a lot of them are like, nah, if I'm not the man, I don't want to play.
Nah, that's crazy. Because I remember, just watching Jalen Rose growing up. Of course, he went to Michigan. Even though I went to Michigan State, I look at some of them people like Chris Webber, Jalen Rose, all them. Especially Chris Webber, like a big brother. You get what I'm saying? So I always watched and did them. Jalen Rose at the end of the bench making $15, $17 million a year, wasn't touching the floor. Mm-hmm. But he accepted it. You would never knew looking at his mannerism out there. When he did get out there and play, whether it was 2 minutes, 3 minutes, he was out there like, hey, this mean everything. Yeah. So I don't see how some people let their ego and their pride kind of get in the way. But it's going to come a time where just about everybody got to take a step back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whether your ego allows you to or not. Like maybe with a great, like you say, LeBron's great. I ain't great. You know what I mean? I know I'm not one of the greats like that. So it would be easier for me to be like, I'm going to fall back and really not play than him. Like, nah.
And it's not just him, and I'm not knocking it.
Yeah,
It's
cool.
I'm knocking myself because I'm a whore for the money. I'll say, look, what you want me to do? Okay, I'll do it. But there's a lot of guys, even our homeboy, Andre Johnson, who is going to the Hall of Fame, looking forward to that.
Big shout out to Dre for that. Man, that boy cold, too.
We did a podcast with him last week. He did an awesome job. But I think Andre, if he said, I'll be on the roster. Use me whenever. He could have played another 5-6 years, but the greats are like, nah, I'm too used to being the GOAT.
If you look at Andre right now, he could play today.
100%.
It's a couple of the receivers that Andre is definitely one that I feel like he can go out there today, like you said, if he'd be like, I'm just going to come in on third down and play.
Yeah.
He can do that easy.
Yeah.
Real easy. So him, I think he's the prime example for that. I think Chad Johnson, Terrell Owens, those guys are freaking natures, you know what I mean? But like I say, Andre, if he bought into it, be like, hey, I want to come back and just play on third down, he'll do it and wouldn't miss a beat.
Yeah, but something about those greats, they're just not. They're
they
not
ain't built that way.
Yeah, they're not built that way. That's the best way to say it. Well, you were obviously one of the greats, high school parade All-American.
Oh, man.
3 interceptions as a D-lineman in Michigan State.
Was caught it, too.
Over a decade in the league. And, man, it's been awesome having you sit here in the OG podcast. And I guess I'll just say, see you later tonight.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I'll see you later.
Hey, man, I might throw a rock and hit your window next time.
That's my man, Robaire Smith, joining us. OG podcast. Don't touch that dial.